Indonesia recorded 0.05% deflation in August. Indonesia Stock Exchange revealed 11 more companies are ready to go public. Good afternoon, viewers in Indonesia and Singapore. Market Headlines is ready to provide you a number of information from the economic, business, and capital market sectors. With me, Fajar Wayong, this is Market Headlines. Yes, viewers, we're going to the first news that Indonesia Central Statistic Agency, or BPS, recorded deflation in August 2020 of 0.05%. The head of BPS said that this two consecutive months of deflation indicates that purchasing power is still weak in the community due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Indonesia's Central Statistic Agency noted that in August 2020, there was deflations of 0.05%. Due to deflations in August 2020, there has been a second deflations this year, where previously there was deflations in July 2020 with a value of 0.1%. There are several factors that contribute to the deflationary value, namely food and beverages, and tobacco, which took a deflationary portions of 0.22%. Head of BPS, Suharyanto, said that the deflations was due to people's low purchasing power.
Pada bulan Agustus jadi deflasi sebesar 0,05 dan ini adalah deflasi yang kedua di tahun 2020, jadi 2 bulan berturut-turut. Seperti saya sampaikan, sekarang ini trennya hampir sama di semua negara, bahwa karena pandemi COVID-19 terjadi pelemahan daya beli, sehingga hampir inflasi di semua negara itu mengalami perlambatan dan mengalami deflasi.
Based on the monitoring in 90 cities, 53 cities experienced deflations and the rest experienced inflation. The highest deflations occurred in Kupang at 0.92%, while the highest inflations in Malabo was at 0.88%. Jakarta, Rajo Pakmo for IDX Channel.
BPS noted that the number of passengers on domestic air transport routes grew by 135.74%. The head of BPS sees this figure as good sign of airline business recovery. Indonesia Central Statistic Agency, or BPS, assessed that the national airline industry began to recover after the number of passengers on domestic routes increased by 135.74% in July 2020 compared to the previous month. The head of BPS, Suharyanto, said that the number of passengers on domestic route air transport in July 2020 was recorded as 1.46 million people. However, when compared with July last year, this figure is still far from normal. On an annual basis, the number of airplane passengers still decreased by 79.58%. This is an indicator that the aviation industry has not fully recovered.
Jumlah penumpang angkutan udara domestik pada bulan Juli tahun 2020 ini adalah sebesar 1,46 juta. Kalau kita bandingkan posisinya dengan bulan lalu, bulan Juni, berarti terjadi kenaikan sebesar 135,74%. Tentunya ini kenaikan yang menggembirakan.
Meanwhile, the government ensures that it has implemented health protocols to ensure all flights routes are busy again. But the spike in the number of additional COVID-19 cases has also made many people remain cautious about traveling. From Jakarta, Raharjo Patmo for IDX Channel. As many as 16 digital companies have started to collect tax from its customers. Tax is in the form of value-added tax, as many as 10% from purchasing.
first batch of August 1st, 2020, there were 6 digital companies that applied VAT or value-added tax. Those are including Amazon Web Service Incorporations, Google Asia Pacific Pte Ltd, Google Ireland Ltd, Google LLC, and Netflix International, and also Spotify. However, by this week, there are more 10 companies that applied VAT or value-added tax. Among of them are TikTok Pte Ltd and Walt Disney Company Southeast Asia Pte Ltd. Tax observer from Madani Darussalam Tax Center stated that there are things to be underlined. First, it needs special monitoring mechanism to ensure compliance of the business actors. And second, there is dispute possibility in competitions for digital VAT rights between the countries. The potential of VAT in trading through electronic systems is very large, given that Indonesia is a market country with large consumers. From all sources for IDX Channel.
The Minister of Finance ensures the continuation of the National Economic Recovery Budget allocation in 2021 reached 356.56 trillion rupiah, which aims to support the economic growth target of 4.5 up to 5.5%. The government continues to allocate budget for the National Economic Recovery Program for next year, even though the number is significantly reduced. In the plenary session with House of Representatives, Finance Minister Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that economic growth in 2021 is targeted at 4.5 to 5.5%, must be supported by the stimulus budget economy. The Finance Minister said that the government will allocate a National Economic Recovery Fund in 2021 of 356.56 trillion rupiah, where the allocation for vaccine distribution is a priority and social assistance supports the purchasing power of the people and affected SME and cooperatives. In 2021, a source of economic growth will be supported by improving domestic demand, investment, and consumption.
Pada tahun 2021, langkah lanjutan program pemulihan ekonomi nasional akan dilakukan dengan anggaran sekitar 356,5 triliun rupiah, termasuk di dalam penanganan bidang kesehatan melalui pengadaan vaksin dan perbaikan di bidang kesehatan, perlindungan sosial, hingga kedukungan pada dunia usaha dan usaha kecil menengah. Penurunan anggaran PEN pada tahun 2021 didasarkan pada perkiraan biaya untuk penanganan pasien COVID yang akan jauh lebih berkurang dibandingkan kondisi.
The government also continues to prioritize the health sector budget, which reached 6.2% of the total 2021 state budget expenditure. This is due to economic growth in 2021, which is determined by the main factor, namely the success of handling COVID-19, including the production and distribution of vaccines. From Jakarta, Raharjo Patmo for IDX. Stay tuned on market headlines. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Nantikan Anugerah Inovasi Indonesia 2020. Malam ini hanya di IDX Channel.
Senang sekali saya David San Ovo dan dapat hadir menemani Anda dalam program spesial dialog webinar on TV.
Setiap minggunya kita akan membahas tema-tema yang sangat menarik. Apa kabar ibu-ibu sekalian?
Salah satu ambisi daripada Kementerian Koperasi dan UMKM bersama Spesko adalah koperasi keren, baru, digital gitu kan, yang kita bisa IT.
Hello, I'm Clara Antawijaya. I'm Associate Producer and News Presenter on Market Headlines. As Market Headlines starts at 4:30 p.m., which is in line with the closing market. Therefore, we summarize the market conditions only for you. And my job in here as a journalist, I give concise and accurate news for the audience. And also, being a journalist is not only a job for me, but it is also a passion.
Proyeksi yang sudah ditetapkan gitu ya di tahun 2021, tanggapan dari Anda terlebih dahulu seperti apa ini Pak Peter?
Pertumbuhan dampak dari wabah COVID ini terhadap perekonomian Indonesia itu relatif kecil ya dibandingkan negara-negara lain.
Welcome back to Market Headlines. Indonesia will soon allow movie theaters to reopen after 5 months as authorities look beyond rising number of infections. This reopening aims to focus on steps to revive an economy hobbled by the coronavirus outbreak.
Movie halls will be allowed to operate, but firstly, it needs to get through simulations process. Head of Tourism Industry Divisions of the Tourism and Creative Economy Agency, Bambang Ismadi, said that the simulations is one of the requirements before cinemas are allowed to operate again. First thing first, cinema management must submit proposal to apply for operations. Jakarta provincial government will study the proposal. Then after around 3 days of evaluations, the Jakarta provincial government will survey the cinema directly. And after that, cinema must conduct simulations. Cinema reopening will be followed by strict virus protocols such as compulsory of the use of face mask. Entry will be limited to the moviegoers in the age of group of 12 until 60. This is according to Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan. From all sources for IDX Channel.
Yes, viewers, cinema industry is not only an inherent part of the country's culture, but also integral part of the economy. Therefore, many parties urge cinema halls to open again after remaining shut for 5 months amid coronavirus pandemic. But to reopen again, there are terms and conditions set by the government. What are those? Let's check it through the next graphic. So we'll move to the first graphic, terms and conditions of cinema reopening. The first one, the cinema only for above 12 years old, below 60 years old. Out of the terms and condition is not allowed. And then maximum cinema capacity of 50%. And then no symptoms allowed. And that's applying health protocol, mask on, hand sanitized, and etc. And this data taken from COVID-19 Task Force Alert. So, along with the Jakarta provincial government also stated one crucial requirement, which is cinema simulation. And how to get there? First thing first, cinema management must submit proposal to apply for operation. Then Jakarta provincial government will study the proposal after around 3 days of evaluation. Then Jakarta provincial government will survey the cinema directly. And after that, cinema must conduct simulation. If the cinema get through simulation stage, well, then cinema needs to apply health protocols set by Ministry of Health. I will elaborate it in the next graphic. So in the second graphic, health protocols in cinema. Periodic cleaning is one of the most important thing in the health protocols. And then the second one is using face mask. And then seating arrangement is one of the health protocols in cinema. And then limitation of cinema goers is also part of the health protocols that must be implemented by the cinema management. And then cashless payment is prioritized for customers. And then online ticketing. So every visitor of the cinema or moviegoers should buy the ticket by online system. And then the taken from Ministry of Health. So if the outlining plan goes according to the plan, government will open up cinema business again in September 10th. Well, only in counting days. And then cinema reopening brings so much hope for the business player. It is because companies that run in cinema industry has large number of cinemas around Indonesia. Can you imagine if the cinemas are shuttered? How can they maintain their operational costs and other costs such as paying employee salary? And to get a deeper overview, in the next graphic, we can see number of cinemas in Indonesia which run according each company. So this is number of cinema in Indonesia. 5 companies with the largest number of cinemas. The first one is Cineplex 21. I believe that you guys have spent your time in Cineplex 21 in long time, and maybe 5 months ago, and the cinemas total for Cineplex 21 is 1,046, and then CGV 331, and then the third one is Cinemax with 235 cinema, and then Independent Cinema with 44, and New Star with 37 cinemas across Indonesia. With that large number of cinemas we have here in Indonesia, of course, cinema halls contribute majorly to the economy. Not only the makers, but cinema in Indonesia has begun since the cinema goers in Indonesia is very huge. How huge is that? In the next graphic, we will see. So this is the large portion or large number of cinema goers in Indonesia in million people. In 2016, there was 37.2 million moviegoers, and then in the next 1 year, in 2017, 42.2 million people, and then 2018, 51.2 million people, and then in 2019, there were 51.9 million cinema goers in Indonesia in total. Large portion of cinema goers mean it has already manifested large market. However, it brings to perspective. Good side, it will regain economy, and bad side, number of new daily cases in Indonesia is always high. If public enthusiasm makes many people chase over cinema reopening, it will cause higher outbreak. And therefore, Jakarta's Legislative Council Commission B Chairman Abdulaziz asked the Governor Anies Baswedan to halt his plan for reopening their cinemas. He said that Jakarta should wait until the infection rate of COVID-19 declines. But from cinema industry players' perspective, it is quite unfair if aviation, metro, mall, wellness and restaurants can be allowed to operate. The cinema industry too deserves a change. So for your station on Market Headlines, we'll be right back after this quick break.
IDX Channel Anugerah Inovasi Indonesia dengan Dewan Juri Bari Aryono, Agus W. Suhadi, Wahyu T. Setiobudi, dengan Dewan Juri Kehormatan Ilham A. Habibi. IDX Channel Anugerah Inovasi Indonesia, nantikan hanya di IDX Channel. Nantikan Anugerah Inovasi Indonesia 2020. Malam ini hanya di IDX Channel.
Seiring dengan penutupan dari Bursa Wall Street, di mana S&P kembali mencatatkan rekor tertinggi sepanjang sejarah, membuat IHSG juga pada pagi hari ini dibuka di teritori positif, pemirsa.
Kedua, pasar masih melihat adanya proses recovery yang terus berjalan.
Sementara di Asia kita lihat berakhir positif juga pada perdagangan Jumat kemarin setelah rilis data ekonomi di wilayah Eropa dan Amerika yang mengalami penguatan.
IDX Channel Anugerah Inovasi Indonesia kategori hubungan eksternal diberikan kepada
Welcome back to Market Headlines. Yes, viewers, at the Jakarta Composite Index Intraday Movement earlier today, GCI was open at the level of 5,327.44, and then approaching the closing time on the first session, the index was on the level of 5,311.4, and then the index was showing strengthening trend by the second session closing time. Index was closed at level 5,311.97, and in short, JCI went up 0.2%. And next, we're going to see the sectoral movements. Leading the dynamics of today's trading, we got agriculture as the leader of strengthening trend, went up 3.37%. Infrastructure went up by 1.03%. And then the leader of the weakening trend, we got basic industry, went down 1.7%, and manufacturing went down 0.62%. Moving on to the top gainers and top losers, here are the key highlights from today's trading session. Adaro Energy went up by 6.58% at 1,215. ZINC went up 7.14% at 150. LSIP went up 5.5% at 1,055, and Perusahaan Gas Negara or PGAS went up by 3.5% at 1,330. Meantime, the top losers for today's trading, we got BBCA went down by 1.3%. BMRI or Bank Mandiri went down 0.82%. Merdeka Copper Gold went down by 1.93%. And Unilever Indonesia went down 0.91%. And next, we're going to see the intraday movement of rupiah towards US dollar. So rupiah opened at the level of 14,800. Rupiah was also showing weakening trend towards US dollar and was closed at the level of 14,770. In summary, rupiah went down by 1.4%. Indonesia Stock Exchange recorded that up to 31st August, there are 37 issuers that just conducted initial public offerings so far. Even better, there are more 11 companies in the IDX pipeline.
There are 37 issuers that conducted initial public offerings so far, with a total IPO value worth 4.2 trillion rupiah. When we talk about pipeline, there are more 11 companies in the IDX pipeline. If we take a look at the business sector, property, real estate, and building constructions are the sectors that most dominate this IPO pipeline. Apart from the IPO pipeline, IDX also lists several companies that plan for issuing bonds and sukuk. The number reached 23 bonds from 20 companies, given one company can issue more than one bond issuance. From all sources for IDX Channel.
Government will implement reforms that will strengthen financial markets and regulatory regimes, so-called as financial regulation reform. Hand-in-hand, listed company Bank Mandiri expects financial regulation reform can fix financial industry supervision.
Director of Risk Management of Bank Mandiri, Ahmad Siddiq, appreciated government's plan to issue regulation on financial reform. Recently, government strived to more resilient financial system and improving its ability to absorb financial and economic shocks. There are at least 3 points that need to be concerned. First point, information exchange between regulators and public. Second is on integration practice for financial services. And last one, there should be regulation on recovery plans for financial conglomeration.
Pertama adalah bagaimana kita bisa sharing information antara satu institusi dan institusi lainnya, sehingga tidak terjadi duplikasi request of data antara satu regulator, stakeholder lainnya. Ya, kemudian bagaimana kita fokus more of our time melakukan analisa daripada data generation yang sifatnya ad hoc.
From Jakarta, Gilang Praditya for IDX Channel.
Step aside from market condition as coronavirus pandemic takes big role on current economic situation. Here it is an update data about coronavirus globally. And the graphic close our market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel. I'm Fajar Wayong. Have a nice evening.
Prinsip berbisnis yang saya sudah jalani adalah bila mana kita ingin terbang tinggi seperti elang, maka berhenti